Hello, everyone. Happy Canada Day. I hope you've had a chance to share some time with your family and celebrate all the great things that Canada is. When I was thinking about what to say for a short Canada Day video, I thought, well, what is Canada Day? What do we do on Canada Day? We spend time with our families. We have a barbecue. I remember when our kids were young, we used to go get the kids face painted down at the city park or the municipal splash pool or whatever was going on. But is that Canada? Is Canada going out and celebrating a bit with our family and with our neighborhood? And my mind turned to a really great book, actually. It's called Canada's Founding Debates. And there's a section in here by John S. Sanborn. And what this book is a collection of all the debates that were taking place when people were trying to figure out what to do with Canada. What is Canada? How do we form this collection of regions and provinces into its own country? And what might it look like? So in a section titled What is a Canadian? The editors and authors have pulled together a whole bunch of snippets, direct quotations from the debates about what Canada might look like. And I thought this one part by John Sanborn was simply brilliant. And this was from 1865, February the 9th, from the Legislative Council. And he said this, quote, "If we desired to have a constitution that would afford good hope of permanency, it must be planted deep in the affections of the people. For until their intellects were convinced of its excellence, they would not be prepared to uphold it and resist innovations. But they must feel and comprehend the obligation. To render it secure, it must be in the hearts of the people. Why was it that the English had always resisted attempts upon their constitution? Because every link of that great chain had been conquered by resistance to oppression and by sacrifices of blood." And just as an aside, he's talking about the peasant revolt in the 14th century, the Civil War and Revolution in the 17th century, and then the Glorious Revolution, 1688 to 89. So sacrifices of blood. He goes on, by resistance to royal exactions and assumptions, and these achievements were preserved, held dear, understood, valued, and clung to with all the tenacity of that great people's nature. This was the reason why it rested upon such a solid foundation, why it had endured so long and was likely to endure forever. End quote. And in that little speech, he's had 5 instances of hear, hear, people cheering. After he said obligation, he only got one cheer. So even then, people weren't too keen on what he may have meant by obligation to the country. But at least one person thought it was okay. But what jumped out at me was right up at the top, he said, it must be planted deep in the affections of the people. And then again, he says, it must be in the hearts of the people. So this idea of Canada, this idea of a country that with a new constitution needs to be in our hearts. And he said the reason England had lasted so long is that every one of the things that they valued about their country had been conquered by resistance to oppression, sacrifices of blood, resistance to royal exaction. And these achievements were preserved, held dear, understood, valued, and clung to with all the tenacity of that great people's nature. So I wonder for Canada, what are we clinging to? Do we cling to anything? I'm guilty of this, right? I didn't grow up with a ton of education about what Canada is, what Canada means. What was most important to me is that I was left alone and the government wouldn't intrude upon my life and my plans for what I hope to achieve for me through my education and, finding a wife, having a family, settling down somewhere. It was all about me. Can we build a country on that sentiment? Is that enough to hold us together when times get tough? I don't think it is. And I guess when we think of it, Canada is a very, very young country. I mean, 1867. Some people living now have been alive for half the life of Canada. So I still think we have an opportunity to think about those founding debates, to think about what it means to be Canadian, what it means to be a country, and what will give us the permanence to survive another 100 years, even to survive another 50 years. So perhaps this is too heavy duty for Canada Day. Maybe you're just wanting to have a barbecue, which is great. Spend time with your family, which is great. Friends, neighborhood, whatever. But I do hope you get even a few moments to think about what is Canada? What exactly are we celebrating? And what will we be able to continue to celebrate tomorrow? What will we be able to pass on to our children and to our grandchildren? Anyways, happy Canada Day, or perhaps Happy Dominion Day if you still celebrate it by that name. I hope we get to celebrate many more. Thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on another video soon. Thanks.